Hello, welcome to Leicester Fan TV. How you doing? Yes, lovely to see you. The season is back. We just got 3 points. Listen, it's Monday night. My name's Phil. This is the Leicester Fanzone show. There's nobody else. Look, it's just me and you. Just that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk for the next 30 minutes about whatever you want to talk about. I'll throw a few balls up in the air. You can talk about them, or you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. What sort of things could we talk about in the next 30 minutes? We could talk about a vital 3 points. How important was it to get off to a winning start? How about Hermansen, the hero? Saves. Was he man of the match? A lot of people gone for Dewsbury Hall, but Hermansen did some outstanding things. A Winksy wonder. Do you want to talk about Harry Winks? What about Enzo being a little bit enthusiastic? Nice to see somebody jumping up and down the touchline there. What's your views on Jamie Vardy? Is he done? Do we keep the faith? What's your thought on that? Love a little bit of DP. Who doesn't love a bit of DP? Love it. Came on, did well. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall obviously was the local hero. Vestergaard did okay, didn't he? Maybe not. Maybe you think not. Let's get your views in there. Mavadini and McAteer, decent starts, or was it a great start? Let me know your views in there. It's tonight's Fanzone show. The next 30 minutes, it's all your views, all your comments. That's all that matter, and we'll get them all on screen. So stick around, and here we go.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everard's, Pucka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hologram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newbie & Co. Estate Agents. Make sure to follow us on all of our social channels at Leicester Fan TV. Visit our website, leicesterfantv.com.
It's indeed a good start to the season. That would be my view on it. 3 points is the vital thing. Don't forget you can follow us at Leicester Fan TV. Whatever channel you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, we're on them all. Also, go and follow. But listen, next 30 minutes is all about what you want to talk about. We get them on screen and we react to them. Good evening, Neil. Hope you're well. From Sunday Loughborough, I'm absolutely delighted with the win. Yes, Neil, me too. Mavadini was brilliant, says Sean. Brilliant. Do you agree with Sean? I'm not going to go as far as brilliant. I saw flashes of stuff that I liked. I also saw a few things that I'd like him to improve on. So Dawn says, very happy with 3 points. Yes, me as well. Listen, for me, Dawn, that was the number one thing yesterday. Nice to see a bit of a performance. It wasn't amazeballs, maybe. 3 points. That's what we need, because then we need 3 more against Huddersfield and 3 more and 3 more. Scooby. Hi, Phil. Hi, Scooby. How you doing? Do you think we definitely need an out-and-out striker? Well, listen, Scooby, I said at the start, what do you think about Vardy? What, again, last year was one of those things in the Premier League. Personally, we watched him in that first half when he was kicking into the family stand area where we sit. Didn't see a lot from Jamie Vardy. Didn't see that much movement. I know he's passionate. We love him. But I've got to be honest, I saw a lot more from Nacho when he came on. And I think Nacho suits Enzo's way of playing. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one. Andy says, how long's Connor Cody going to be out? The club's been very bit quiet on that, Andy. Don't think he's going to be back for a couple more weeks. Hopefully it is going to be within a couple of weeks. Sean also wants to talk about substitutions from the manager. Made a massive impact, Sean. Absolutely agree. Ndidi, we could talk about Ndidi for a bit of DP. Dennis Pratt came on and for me looked better in that role. What do you think, Sean? But you're right, the substitutions made a big impression there. Richie, hope you're well, mate, says, I was impressed with McAteer and Mavadini yesterday for Leicester. Both did decent. Nice to see McAteer. Obviously, come through the youth ranks for Leicester. Thought he did okay. And Mavadini, yeah, definitely some flashes involved in the goals as well. Carlos, hope you're well, sir. Atmosphere at the KP was great. I feel Vard's maybe a bit past it now. However, I'll always love him. 100% agree with you, Carlos. We'll always love Vardy. I'm not slagging him off. I'm just saying, you know, look, we want to go up this season. Vardy is going to play an important role in that. But is he going to be more, should he be used at that 15, 20 minutes towards the end of a game and maybe have a bit of impact in there? I don't know. Bubba, hope you're well. USA Foxes check in. Brilliant start. That's it, Bubba. Remind me where you're from. In the States, let us know. It was an early start for you lot watching over there yesterday. Did you manage to get up in time and have your kegs and eggs out there in the States? Terry says we were up against a good team who I think will be in the top 6. Maybe, Terry. Yeah, they were decent. they were decent, but listen, it was sky blue, but it wasn't Man City anymore out there. It was Coventry City. It is a different standard to what we've been used to for the last 9 seasons. So it was good to see us put them to the sword in the end there, and quality shone through, I think. Andrew, good evening. Hope you're well. Martin says hit the ground running. Totally agree with that, with the 3 points in there. Sonderak says, I do think Vardy is done. He's been off it for a year now. Nacho is the way forward. Team's energy skyrockets. He wants to get on. I think it was a double thing, Sonderax. It was Dennis Pratt replacing Ndidi, because I think that forward role, I don't see Ndidi doing that. I don't know about you, but I definitely think it was Dennis Pratt coming in and then Nacho, because it was sort of like a bit of a double-pronged support around people like Kieran Dewsbury Hall, who obviously went on to score the 2 goals. So it was either good management from Enzo, that's what we want to go for, or it was, well, I think that's what it was. I think he managed it well. Keith says, we need that potential new winger, too much reliance on KDH. Have we not got it with Mavadidi now, Keith? Mavadivi, McAteer? You know, I think maybe that was all right. Scooby says, thought the fans were brilliant and loud. Certainly that first pre-match and then the first 20 minutes was very good. It did quiet down. I think Leicester fans did quiet down a little bit. Understandable. I think we've got to be patient at times to break through. Jason Mills, good evening. Hope you're well. Pleased with that 3 points, Jason. Hope you were. Richard says, I thought Wout Fies was great yesterday. I've had this debate with Reedy. Do you know what, Richard? I thought he was okay. I was actually probably more impressed with Callum Doyle. I thought Fies was okay yesterday. He certainly was. He was getting forward at times. He ended up in the penalty box a couple of times. But yeah, it's been interesting in there. Rob says, I thought defensively we were sound, but the link-up play between midfield and attack was something left to be desired until Pratt and Nacho came on. Rob, I definitely think it improved with Nacho and Pratt. I think it was an improvement. I mean, I've got to go back to Rob's one there because he's saying the link-up play. I actually thought, I put in there about Winks. I thought Winks played well yesterday. He's in a role where you're not necessarily going to, because he's taking that ball almost from defence and pushing it forward. I liked how Winks a few times yesterday he took the ball. Sometimes he'd pass it forward, but sometimes he would turn and then move forward. Maybe only 5 or 10 or 15 yards with the ball and then make a pass. But there was times last season where I was like looking at Yuri, and Yuri'd received the ball facing the keeper, our own keeper, and then never turned with it. I'm like, just turn and shift the ball forward. And I thought Winks did that quite nicely. Don't forget, this is the Championship, not the Premier League. So, you know, I know it's not eggs is eggs, but I did think it was interesting. Larry says, breath of fresh air with reduced clappers, no goal music, and no VR to wreck celebrations. Larry, I'm going to agree and disagree with you, mate, on some of it. No VAR. It was so nice. Even when they scored, it was just like, well, that's a goal then. That's a goal. We're 1-0 down. Let's move. Let's take the. I admit. And then when we scored, it was like there was the first goal went in, and it was like the usual. Are they going to rule it out? And then you go, yeah, there's no VAR. We can celebrate. So I agree with you on that. Reduce Clappers. I am a Clappers fan. I love the Clappers. I think they do add atmosphere. I quite like how they've got it now. I think the club, praise to the club, I think they've got it right. There was Clappers on offer. If you want one, take one, use it. If you don't want one, fine. Use your hands, sing, sit there, moan, whatever you want to do. But at least you've got an option now. No goal music. I didn't know they were going to do that, but they did. We did look around. Actually, we didn't notice it till after the match. So it was an interesting one there. Glenn. Now, there's a video. Me and Reedy made a post-match video today that's on YouTube. And Glenn, you're absolutely right. We discussed this. And I hadn't thought about this till yesterday's game, Glenn, but what you've just said there, I think is absolutely perfect. Mark Robbins, the Coventry manager, came out yesterday, didn't he, and said, look, after the game, he said, I looked at Leicester's bench, there was about £100 million worth of talent sat on the bench. You know, worked it out. Castagna, Nacho, Dennis Pratt, you know, Sumari, Daka, you know, quality on the bench. Expensive quality on Leicester's bench. And Covs, obviously, when they bring their players on, they haven't got that depth. A lot of teams in the Championship won't have that depth that Leicester have got. And maybe it will be that last 20, 30 minutes where the substitutions makes a difference because other teams' quality drops off a little bit and Leicester's stays strong. I'd actually say Leicester was stronger at the end. Do you agree, Glenn? I think that's an interesting point that you make there. Keep those comments coming in. I'm going to try and get as many in as I can on screen. There's hundreds coming in, so please, please, please. I apologise, I can't get them all on in there. Andrew says, great start to the season. Wasn't perfect, but can get better. Andrew, I think that's a pretty perfect summary of yesterday in there. Paul says, great result yesterday. Really enjoyed that. Andy says, Dennis Pratt, definitely better than Ndidi. I agree. Totally agree. Neil says, thought the keeper was different gravy and he saved us from defeat. Thank you, Neil. Let's talk a little bit about Hermansen. Again, I've chatted with quite a few people about who was man of the match. I think we're all going to give it to Dewsbury Hall. You're going to give it to Dewsbury Hall, aren't you? Let us know in the comments who was your man of the match. Let's have that debate now. KDH, I just thought Hermansen, actually, he saved us more than once, more than twice. There was a chance right in front of us in the second half, in front of P Block, in front of the family stand. And Hermansen, it was a tough save, and he managed to get something on it and tipped onto the crossbar. We could have easily been 2 or 3-0 down, and the game's effectively gone then. So I thought he did do very well there. Stephen says, who do you think better, Mavadidi or Barnes? Listen, Stephen, I've got to be honest. I'm hoping the answer is Mavadidi at the end of the season. But at the moment, if you want the honest answer, we've just sold Harvey Barnes to Newcastle for 40 million quid. So, who has proven at Premier League level that he's decent. So let's not slate off Harvey Barnes and say that Mavadidi is better, because he clearly isn't, because he's playing for Leicester in the Championship. Who knows in the future? But listen, at the moment, Harvey Barnes is clearly the better player and probably would have ripped up the Championship had we kept him, but we weren't going to. I'm just trying to be honest. I'm not. There's times Leicester fans, and I'm Leicester fan, you're Leicester fan, we're all Leicester fans, is like, let's not get too carried away. It was a nice performance at times yesterday, and I'm very excited, mostly that we got the 3 points. I saw a bit of Mavadidi that was good. I saw a bit that was pretty poor as well. But overall, there's signs there with him, and I'm prepared to give him time. But I'm not going to get into this. Oh, he's better than Harvey Barnes. He's better than Riyad Mahrez. You'll be saying that next. No, he ain't yet. Who knows? But let's see. It's an interesting one. Anyway, that's me getting off. Finn says, Winks was outstanding. Simple passes, but was a step ahead of everyone around him. Finn, I think he went unnoticed yesterday because nobody seemed to say about Winks for a man of the match or anything. But I thought he did simple stuff well, and I thought he did do that little pivot, get the ball facing the keeper, and not every time. Sometimes it was a little layoff back. Sometimes it was a turn and a pass. Sometimes it was a turn and move it forward. So I like what I saw of Winks. You've got to remember, though, with Winks, he is Premier League quality, and he has come down to the Championship. So again, we are stacked full of quality. Sean says Winks looked okay, a good experienced player. Again, he's played for 9 seasons for Spurs on and off. He's played at a high level, Winks has. So he should find this fairly straightforward in there. Andrew again saying DP coming on changed the game massively in there. Sunderat says Callum Doyle looked rather good. I agree. Again, Sunderat, I must agree with you. Got potential to grow this season. I like what I saw with him in there. Chris, good evening. Chris, hope you're well. Says Kieran Dewsbury wasn't even in the game for 70 minutes, then he won it for us. This isn't a complaint, more a sign of a great player. Great players disappear and deliver when needed. Listen, he clearly scored 2 good goals, Chris. I thought Dewsbury did well all game. I thought he was in it. I think, and again, Chris, it's just my view, don't know what you think. I thought the fact that we brought Nacho on, and Nacho brought the game, the ball started going to Nacho and he would hold it up and then bring in players like Dewsbury Hall, Mavadidi. So I thought Nacho helps that way. And I actually think Dennis Pratt, if I'm doing it this way, if there's Nacho coming back a little bit and supporting and actually holding the ball up, then you got Dennis Pratt going a little bit further forward. And Dennis Pratt is a more progressive forward player than Ndidi. So I think what you say about 70 minutes, I think those 2 players coming on when Enzo changed it, pretty much like for like, but changed it. I think Pratt is a better attacking player and Nacho is a better hold-up player. So I think that's what really helped Dewsbury Hall in there. Richard says, apparently he was tired according to Robbins. I don't know, Richard, who you're on about there, so apologies about that. Craig's talking about Hermansen. Great shot stopper, suspect on crosses. I've heard that a few times. Obviously, they scored from a header, but I thought he had a good performance. I would have said he was in the shout for us. Mike says, is Mendy still with us? No, Mike, he's gone. He was a free transfer, so he is gone in there. Ahib says, Mavididi is more of a Damari Gray than Barnes. Come on. He's certainly, I mean, if you rewatch the goals, Mavididi was involved to some extent in both of them. And I think that was interesting. Like Chris goes on to say here, he has style, but does he have substance? And is he a good team player? Only time will tell that. I agree, Chris. For me, listen, I'm hoping he does well. I'm hoping he's the winger we've been looking for a couple of years now. So it's going to be interesting in there. Nick says in there, good evening, Nick, says we need another centre-back bringing in. Vestergaard terrifies me when he plays, and we need another winger all in all. It was a good start to the season. It's refreshing to have a manager that makes a change. Nick, listen, let's have this chat. Nick, me, you, and everybody else watching. What do you want to say about Vestergaard? Because do you know what? I feel like saying, let's draw a line in the sand about Vestergaard to an extent. Because I thought he did okay yesterday. I think that ball over the top, and if you're a manager watching Leicester, you're going to say, pop that ball over Vestergaard's top and run through, because it takes him literally. This is Vestergaard facing the ball. He watches the ball come over, and then it's like he's in slow motion when he turns around to get the ball. I'm doing it in fast motion. This is Vestergaard running after the ball, and then players running by. But you get the idea. Overall, he play as a defender. I think his positional play is pretty good. I think his distribution of the ball, Vestergaard, is pretty decent. Again, they were using it. The ball was going to Vestergaard. He was bringing the ball out. I think at championship level, I think he's going to be okay. But maybe it's just me. There's a lot of you lot think, no, not having Vestergaard. He's not going to be good enough. I think when Connor Cody's back from injury, it may be a different story. But for now, I'm sort of like, you know, the guy's played for Denmark. He's played very well for Southampton. He probably can handle the championship. But it's really, really interesting to see what your views are in there. It's a very different conversation. Nick goes on to say Vestergaard is slower than a sloth. He isn't aggressive in defence or from set pieces. Sooner Connor Cody's back, the better. I think Connor Cody is going to be the guy who goes in there. But I thought Vestergaard was all right. It might just be me. Craig says Vestergaard's too slow. He's beating out of sight in the footage that led to them hitting the bar in there. Ben says he's way too slow, can't turn at another Maguire. Richard says, I thought Vestergaard was good yesterday, apart from the shirt pull he got booked for in there. Rob says Vestergaard was fine. Doyle left him exposed too many times. Sean says he was okay. Boo Records, good evening, says, sodding useless, get rid. See, I told you, it's a cart horse. Doesn't jump. He doesn't need to jump. He's 6'28". 6'28", Boohoo Records. He doesn't need to jump. Callum says he's too slow. Couldn't see many leaders again yesterday. Terry, I'm going to have to agree a little bit with you, because after 65 minutes, I did say, because again, you may have noticed, certainly if you were at I wonder sometimes if it comes across on TV or not. When you were at the game, there was a period, I mean, Coventry came out from the second half, and Mark Robbins had clearly said, go and have a go at them. When they're passing it around the back, go and have a go. So that's what they did. And then there was a point after they'd scored, and 20 minutes after they'd scored, so about the 65th minute, again, our chat where we were sitting in the ground, it was a bit like, where is the captain? You know, who is like rolling up the sleeves, who is doing this again and riling the players up? And it was lacking again yesterday. It was lacking, Terry. So I have to say, yeah, leaders on the pitch. Chris says, right, I haven't read this. He says, fully agree about Vestergaard. He did okay yesterday. Not brilliant, but did okay. He did his job. We're not in a brilliant league. We can't expect brilliant players. Chris, I sort of agree with you. I do. I think can Vestergaard handle the championship? Yes. Will he get left for standing some days by fast little players? Yes. Will he, overall, will he do okay? Yes. Will Connor Cody come back in and replace him? Yes. Finn says here, Vestergaard has a brilliant passing range for a centre-back, but the high line without any other quick centre-backs next to him is a no-go in there. So I think a bit split. I think generally, if I'm being honest, I think more fans are not Vestergaard. I'm not a fan of Vestergaard. He's not going to make my all-time Leicester City centre-backs top 100 probably. Listen, because there's people like Steve Walsh and Jerry Taggart and Larry May and John O'Neill. There's a massive list of centre-backs who would be ahead of Vestergaard. If you can name any off the top of your head, come on, name me some. I love this. We just chat. Name me some centre-backs from the past who you would have higher than Vestergaard. Put them in the chat. We'll shout some of them out. They can be old. They can be new. They can be blue. They can be Sion-Chu. They can be Harry Maguire. They can be some centre-backs who are definitely better for Leicester than Vestergaard. Name them. Go now. I'm waiting because I've just said a few from the past. Let's have a go in here. Reedy says, always said DP should be in the 11. I would agree, Reedy. Not being able to see his quality for the last few years as Yuri Madison was in front of him. Now you should see a way better player. Dennis Pratt will be one of those players who I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves. If I was Dennis Pratt and sat on the bench at a championship side, I'd be like, Torino, come and get me, please, because I'm too good. I'm good enough to play in the Premier League side, Dennis Pratt is, if you ask me. We're still talking about Vestergaard. Listen, we won. Don't want to get snarled up in Vestergaard. Matthew says Vestergaard made Coventry. You not just don't like Vestergaard, I think, mostly. But it's been interesting in there to get your views in there. Richard says, this win could be very significant in May as Cobweb play our finals. Do you know what, Richard? We said that after the match. We were walking back and we said, this game, we've gone, yeah, decent, we should beat Coventry. We did say in the car I was in, we said, do you know what? We might look back on that fixture in May and go, that was actually a fantastic 3 points. That was very much needed in there. Steve says it doesn't matter how slow you are, it's about being able to read the game. Unfortunately, slow can't read the game. Oh, you're harsh. Auntie Karen, hope you're well. Don't like this added extra 9 minutes. Do you know what, Karen? I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it, Karen. Why wouldn't you like the fact that for teams that are time wasting, cheating, rolling around, bringing subs on, getting the trainer on, faking, doing all that, everybody's going to get penalised for it. So the answer is stop doing it. Honestly, Auntie Karen, I'm like, bring it on. Bring it on. Because there'll be times where we'll be like, that team's time wasted. I'm sick of it. They're rolling around. Let's just have them. It should eliminate it. There's some very, very simple things, isn't there? If I was the FA, I would say any player who goes up to the ref and gives him a load of mouthful of abuse, instant red card. And do you know what would happen after one game, after 1 week of games? If the FA brought that in, there would be no players go up to the ref and give them a load of that, because the ref would just go, whoa, red card, mate. And you, if you want to have a go at me, you can have a red card. It would solve it instantly. Now, I'm not saying this extra time will solve it, but I tell you what, it will help a little bit in my views. So I pay a lot of money. Karen, you pay a lot of money to go down there. It costs a lot of money to go and watch Leicester. Let's have more time with the ball on the pitch. Honestly, I'm interested to hear what other people think about the extra time. For me, it's a no-brainer. It's great. We got an extra 9 minutes that we paid for. That's value. That's entertainment. Yes, don't get me wrong. At 2-1 up, I'd rather it was like blow the whistle. But that's what I want. I want entertainment. I want value for money in there. Lots of people in here. Jeff Blockley says, Gavin, you're old school. Do you know, I can't even remember Jeff Blockley, but I think, when was he? Early 70s. Matty Bond says, tags. This, by the way, this is centre-backs who are better than Vestergaard. This could be a show in its own right in there. Joe says, what does Vestergaard need to do to turn it around with the fans, do you think? I don't know, Joe. I think it is just people's opinions, because I genuinely think if you watched him yesterday, he was okay. It just is a bit slow at times in there. Ben says here, and listen, it's for me, Ben, it's like, if you're going to be a manager, you have to go, you have to do your badges, you have to learn. Just wherever in the world these managers go to learn tactics and pass their badges, these badges, you would have thought there was like a little media school, a part of it, which says, do you know what fans like? I shouldn't really tell you this, but do you know what fans like? Is when you score a goal, whether you're feeling it or not, just go a bit mental. Because I tell you what, they love watching the video clips back. They love seeing it down the touchline. They absolutely love it. Because do you know what Brendan Rodgers went to the school of? Was like, Leicester score an important goal. And he's like, Nobody wants to see that, Brendan. Honestly, wherever you manage now, Celtic, wherever, Brendan, nobody likes to see goal go in and you go, they'd rather see somebody like Martin O'Neill or Enzo or Jose Mourinho running up and down the pitch, go mental. It's so easy to become a fan's favourite as a manager. Just bloody jump around and look like you're bothered, like most of us fans are in there. Tony James, better than Vestergaard. Well, listen, Scott, listen. Tony James is a legend, but you know why he's a legend. There'll be a lot of younger people going, Tony who? Legend. Tony James, Sir Tony James. Scott, how did you not call him Sir? That's -5 Fox points for Scott for not calling him Sir Tony James. Russell Osman, yes, thank you. In there, we're getting into a completely different thing in there. Gavin's just stirring the pot. Thank you, Gavin. Could Vestergaard be a captain? I think that's what he's saying there. Richie says, forget about Rodgers now. I agree. Don't forget, it's all Claude Puel's fault still if we lose. Joe Wright says, Enzo's passion will translate to the team, I think. Makes a massive difference. I think so, Joe. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it, mate? We love to see it. The players will love to see it. The assistant coaches, whoever's on the bench will like to see it. We've just scored a winner. Jamie from the Fox's Arms shared a stat for me, which said that was the first time Leicester have scored a winner in the last 5 minutes of a game at the King Power since 2019. 4 years since we've scored a late winner. That's what he said. Don't know if that's right or not. At least they show the added time on the screen before we had to take the time ourselves. Celebrating goals was the main reason to the 9 minutes. Reedy's quite right, actually. We spotted that as well. So it says 90 minutes now plus 9, and then it carried on adding it up. So rather than everybody looking at the watches and going, how long's left? I don't know. And everybody looking, blow your whistle. It was very clear on there. And they played exactly 9 minutes in there. Steve Walsh and Matt Elliott, of course, Neil, of course, are better than Vestergaard. Absolutely. Scott says, clearly a plastic fan. I can only apologise. Thank you. You didn't call Steve Walsh Sir, and he's more Leicester than Philbert Fox. Listen, I'll happily call Steve Walsh Sir, but you know why Tony James is called Sir Tony James, because of what he did. Walshy did some magnificent things as well. Andrew says, Enzo looked like he means business. I agree, Andrew. Like we said, for me, it's management guidance 101. Look excited, look passionate. The fans want to see it. I don't know why some managers don't do it, mate, because it is so easy. In there, Nick's got a whole heap of centre-backs that are better than Vestergaard. Yeah, Morgan, Huth, Tunchev. I'm trying to remember Tunchev. Maguire, Cags, Walshy, Taggart, Elliott, all better than Vestergaard. There's more as well, Nick. You can go, well, not Jimmy Willis. I like Jimmy Willis, mate. I don't know who's put that in, because you're in the Facebook group. You need to click a few things. Come on, and we'll get your name up, mate. But yeah, Jimmy Willis was all right. And, that would be right. Stop the show. Tomorrow we're going to have who was better, Jimmy Willis or Vestergaard. We're not going to do that. Trust me. Andrew, do you know, I've seen a lot of people say this. Andrew says £6.25 was a pint hard to swallow. £6.20. Listen, Andrew, it's the world we live in now, mate. I tell you. Come and join us out. I shouldn't say this. Come and join us outside the Blues Bar, the Fox and Saw, drinking a can of Carling from the shop up the road, mate. It's a bit cheaper, honestly. I'm just getting tight asses now. It's my old age. 4 cans of Stella or whatever for £6 from the shop, or 1 pint. Definitely getting old. Ross, good evening. Happy birthday. It's Ross's 30th birthday weekend, and Leicester gave him 3 points. Happy birthday to Ross. Jack Hobbs, the streets won't forget. Jack Hobbs ended up at Forest, I believe, didn't he? In there. Rooster Russell was not a centre-back. XRP Dynamite. Come on. He never played at centre-back. He was clearly a striker. He scored that famous goal for us in here. Richard says, Tony James scored the goal to keep Leicester up in 1990 or 91. It was 91, I believe, Richard. I was only 4 or 5 at the time, so I can't remember. Me as well, Richard. I was only 4 or 5, stood in the cop with all my mates drinking beer. I was 4 or 5 when Sir Tony James... Richard, you missed the Sir off as well. Please. I keep trying to get Tony James on Leicester Fan TV, but he just ignores me. I'm like, you're a legend, please. It's like we've been lucky enough to chat with some of the absolute legends of Leicester City and can't get him in there. Tom is watching. He says in there, Phil Gilchrist, better than Vestergaard. Do you really reckon that, Tom? Do you really? Honestly, I thought, Tom, I thought you were the voice of reason. You might have it in there. Nicholas says, why was Reedy dressed so formally and Phil the complete opposite at work earlier? If you want to go and see, I was smart. It's a designer t-shirt, Nicholas. Having a go, mate. Reedy has to dress smart, else he'll lose his job. We've done a match review over on YouTube. In there. You can't see the green room, but Reedy's giving me some finger gestures, which are not too complimentary, and we'll be talking about them tomorrow. Alan Paris was all right, Matt. He was all right, I thought. Delbert Wilkins, Alan Paris. Old Martin Keown, better than Vestergaard. Oh, I'm not a fan of Martin Keown, Nick. Not a fan of Martin Keown for various reasons. Frank Matink, this show, listen, we've just won 2-1 against the Cov. We've just got 3 points in the Championship. We're talking about Vardy. We even talked about Vardy. Has he done? I think we have a bit now. And we've ended up about this turning into a Vestergaard. Who's better than who? Ross goes, now listen, Ryan Gordon Bennett. Listen, Ross. Ryan Bennett was not better than Vestergaard. I'm not having that. We're going to leave that there, aren't we? There. Brian Carey was all right. He was... I can't believe this. This is your fault. Everybody who's watching, it's your fault when you turn a serious post-match fan chat into a debate about people who are in there. Graham Cross, Andy, Andrew Medhurst. I can't remember Graham Cross. He's before me, but Neil's saying that in there. So I don't know. Bob Hazel. Keith. Yes, I love Bob Hazel. He was great. Anybody who didn't see Bob Hazel, his legs were absolutely, I think they used to call him tree trunks legs. He didn't even have to defend. He was just massive unit. He just stood there and nobody could walk round him or through him or whatever. Bob Hazel was a legend. I can't remember where Bob Hazel, when he played for Leicester, Keith, you remember? Come on, tell me. He played other teams more famously than Leicester, but he did do a stint at Leicester. I'm going to say, was he more famous when he was, I'm going to say QPR or Birmingham, Keith. Come on, help me out before we go. Let's see if we can work out where Bob Hazel was in there. XPR, yeah, Bob Hazel. Bob Hazel, I think sadly, I'm not sure if Bob Hazel's passed away, but if he has in there. Liam, Wasilewski, yes, thank you. The recent past, big Wazza. Absolutely in there. Liam Moore, I like Liam Moore, Nick, honestly. Are you related, Nick? You never know. Got the same surnames, and Liam Moore was from, I think Liam Moore was from Barrow upon Soar, so certainly in there. Nicholas says Wasilewski was a beast. He certainly was. Larry May, I did mention Larry May. Larry May was such a class centre back for Leicester City. Always remember him. Leighton Orient Way, 1979. What a ledge. Great player. And in the same ilk, John O'Neill. Great players in there. A few people. Chris Edwards says QPR. Do you know what? This is Bob Hazel. I thought it was QPR. Again, a lot of younger fans will go, QPR. QPR were one of the best teams in what was Division 1, which would be now the Premier League. Great player in there. And a few shout-outs for Larry May. Spencer, we have totally lost it now. We're overrun. You lot, we're meant to be, what is it, 8 o'clock? You should be all off watching EastEnders or whatever. We've overrun because we're talking about centre-backs that are better than Wasilewski. Thank you, Neil, for that in there. Bob Hazel, Wayne says in here, hi, Wayne, hope you're well. Bob Hazel played against Leicester when he played for QPR, got sent off. I sort of remember that as well. Chris, yes. John O'Neill, what a class. Am I related? I know Nick. Hey, listen, Nick. We live in a modern world. I don't know. You could be. Who knows? Pontus Camargue. Scott, I'm not having Pontus Camargue as a centre back, am I? Defensive midfielder. Maybe he might have played centre back for Sweden, maybe in there. Thank you. Keith says QPR and dive to save in the line for them. Line scored from the spot. We are going back a time here. Bob Hazel was It's turned into the Bob Hazel show. Chris Edwards says, my first ever Leicester City match on Boxing Day in there. Can't have a chat about defenders without mentoring Big Wes. Of course, Joe, you're quite right in there. Dave Whitlow, or Mike Whitlow. I think you mean Mike Whitlow, to be fair. And finally, we end. I've been waiting for Gary Coatsworth. Gary Coatsworth is a legend for Leicester fans of a certain age. Not the most skillful. We did check out YouTube. We interviewed Gary Coatsworth on Leicester Fan TV during COVID. It's there on YouTube for all his history. My memory of interviewing is that Gary Coatsworth, I think I'm right in saying, had a football career and then ended up working at Nissan car plant in Sunderland, and is just, and I don't mean this in the weirdest bit, he's like me and you. He works for a living, Gary Coatsworth, and yet the guy, I'm going to say he certainly played in one of the playoff finals. I'm going to call it, Steve, you might remember, which playoff final did Gary Coatsworth play in? It's not the, I don't think it was the Blackburn one or the Swindon one. I think it might have even been the Derby game. Anyway, we've got absolutely sidetracked absolutely in there. Listen, as ever, it's a pleasure to chat with you every Monday, 7:30 to 8. Great to get 3 points on the board. That's what's needed. Don't forget, we've got a match preview show tomorrow with Reedy and Sam. They'll be looking forward to, obviously, the trip to Burton Albion on Wednesday. Then we've got on Thursday, we've got Championship Chat with Locks. That's 7 till 12:30. It's a 5-hour show with Locks. I take the mic, but it will go. There's a lot to talk about in the Championship. So that's Locks at 7 o'clock on Thursday. Looking forward to, obviously, Leicester's trip to Huddersfield on Saturday. Friday, there'll be a match preview for that game as well. And there'll be a watch-along on Saturday. And there will be the Foxes Aftermath, the famous Foxes Aftermath in there. Let's have a look. It was the Derby game. Thank you. I thought Gary Coatsworth did play Derby, one of the best games in my life. Leicester v Derby at the playoff final. So thank you for everybody who's saying that. I knew Gary Coatsworth was legendary status. But like I say, I believe my memory is just like me and you, got a real job now, real work, works with real people. They don't even know. He's played in a playoff final for Leicester and lived the dream. I'm off. Sean says, see ya. All right, Sean. I'm off. See you later. Silence of the Rams. Indeed. Listen, we could talk. Mark Venus. Will you shut up with all these? Mark Venus was a good centre-back. He was a good centre-back for Leicester. I enjoyed him. We're going to go now because we could be talking like this for all day. But I love chatting with you. And I'll see you very, very shortly. Thanks, everybody. And thanks to all these guys for helping bring Leicester Fan TV to you. Mark Venus. Bob Hazel. Gary Coatsworth.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pucka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Writers, Hologram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newbie & Co. Estate Agents. Make sure to follow us on all of our social channels at Leicester Fan TV. Visit our website, leicesterfantv.com.
Completely forgot. I always do it every week. Completely forgot. So thanks for those of you who are still watching. I've absolutely completely forgot to say 2 things. Firstly, we've got a home shirt that we're going to be giving away tomorrow. Secondly, we've got this shirt that we'll be giving away on Friday. So if you haven't entered yet, do go over to leicesterfantv.com and have a go to win the competition. I'm an absolute idiot. It's all that talk of Bob Hazel, Gary Coatsworth. You lost me.